Bol Bol.
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 They still haven't earned an over-the-top sexy sax performance, but my God, that felt good. A wire-to-wire blowout victory for your Phoenix Suns. Bol Bol leads the way with 25 points, 1 point shy of his career high. Nick Richards had a good game. The Pelicans didn't stand a chance. A game the Suns should have won, but a game the Suns did win. I'm Eric, that's Steven, that's Noah. I'm not gonna go crazy, but I'm absolutely going to let the sexy sax ride. Woo. Feels good. We will take a win. Welcome into the PHNX Suns post-game show presented by Bet365. Download the Bet365 app. Use code PHNX365 when you sign up and find out why, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary over at Bet365. Thanks to everybody in the chat who's hanging out with us. We appreciate each and every single one of you tapping in on a Friday night for finally a win. The third win in the month of February, Steven, and I think my biggest complaint is the fact that Mike Budenholzer didn't play Bol Bol more minutes tonight.
Man,
which is fine. It's an okay complaint at this point.
I was going to say, yeah, especially in a game that never saw a lead change. That's a great thing to have some gripes about, considering everything that transpired coming into tonight.
Sure, Optical Illusion in the chat says it's hard to be happy about tonight. Listen, I get it. Nothing that happened tonight changes where this franchise is.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing. But we gotta just take the joy where we can get it, Steven.
It's moment to moment with this team. So you gotta take what came tonight and then rinse it going into tomorrow. And then naturally on Sunday, right back at square one.
Yeah, it's good to end the second night of a back-to-back against a team, quite frankly, this is a New Orleans Pelicans team you should have beat last night. And this is a New Orleans Pelicans team that you could not afford to lose to tonight. No Zion, no CJ, obviously still no Brandon Ingram because that's been a big part of their team and they just traded him away. You had to emphatically get a victory. But here's the thing. Not only did they win, Steven, but they got out to a big lead early, and every time New Orleans started to gain a little bit of momentum, which they did from time to time, the Suns shut it down, which is a new trend for them.
Yeah, that's not something that we've grown accustomed to seeing, especially of late, but again, credit to the Suns. Like we spoke on pregame, no game is easy to win on this NBA level, and it's just refreshing to see them, again, do what they're expected to do. And do so in a way in which they're expected to do it. Winning against this Pelicans team without so many of the pieces that you already mentioned. Again, leading from start to finish. A double-digit lead, setting the tone in the first quarter. 40-point first quarter. Most points scored in an opening quarter in the season for them. Those are things that you expect to see with the odds set up the way that they were in terms of the injuries for both teams in this one.
Yeah, this is what you needed from them. And like I said, this doesn't change where everything is. Listen, we are going to break down the latest reporting around Mike Budenholzer. We have pregame comments on standby if we don't get anything new postgame from Bud or from Book, following, of course, last night's fiery for Booker postgame press conference and then the hashtag Haynes brief earlier today revolving around those two. So don't worry. We're going to get into that. We're going to have Gerald calling in from Footprint Center. I keep on calling it Footprint Center. Sorry. PHX Arena, or as it should be called, PHNX Arena. And we're going to get to our bets tonight because here's a little teaser. Somebody hit their bet. And I bet you can't tell who it is by my tone. But I think first things first, the absolute number one thing on the docket is to get to our big, bright, shining star presented by Gila River Resorts and Casinos. You do you. At Gila River Resorts and Casinos, visit playatgila.com for more details.
I am a big, bright, shining star.
It is the one, the only Bol Bol. 25 points tonight. Almost a new career high, but a new season high. 9-12 from the field, a career high 5 3-pointers, all 3 misses coming from behind the arc, adding in 3 rebounds, 2 assists, but also 2 blocks in the Suns' 125-108 victory. Steven, what have you liked to see from Bol Bol in this recent stretch since he got that starting nod?
I'll start at the surface level and then work past that, the confidence. For every bit of things we spoke to about other Suns young players that haven't been given consistent opportunity, Bol has earned that over the last 2.5 to 3 weeks, extending prior to the All-Star break. And the confidence is clearly taking steps forward with every game to the point where he's now starting with the team. And he's not just starting off of name or starting off of stature, but he's starting because of production.
Mm-hmm.
And he's finding ways to have impact offensively naturally. I'll get there in a moment, but defensively is where it's really standing out to me. His moments and help, his moments with using his length as an advantage, he's just finding ways to have impact and add value on that end of the floor. And I think you have to credit David Fizdale.
Mm-hmm.
We got done hearing about Bud speaking to his relationship, Fizdale's relationship with Bol in particular, working on the details, and then Bol took it a step further and said, yeah, most of what we're working on is on the defensive end. So hat tip for that. And then if we transition to the offensive side, being a puzzle piece, not sending the offense off script, playing the way that they need him to in terms of making quick decisions, and his attacking of closeouts off of Devin Booker's pick and rolls in particular stand out most. Can put the ball on the deck, obviously can shoot it, but it's where at points last season where he would catch it and hold it, and now the advantage that was created is gone. He's making quick decisions. He's either letting it fly and he's knocking down his threes, or he's putting it on the deck to keep an advantage and oftentimes scoring in the paint.
Have you changed your opinion on Bol Bol over the course of this season?
I mean, there was nothing to change for me personally. I just had a level of expectation for him, knowing that he had a certain level he could hit defensively. He wasn't hitting that in the minutes that he was getting earlier this season. But now that he's been given a sustained opportunity in the main rotation, and especially with the starting group, you're seeing the results that he can have.
And I think a lot of people, and I don't blame you guys in the chat who are bringing up the fact that, you know, we were talking about Bol Bol and we were saying don't play Bol, but it wasn't necessarily saying that Bol Bol has no skill, no ability, can't contribute anything. At least for me personally, when we were talking about Bol and the struggles that the Suns had, there was a reason why Bol Bol was not playing.
Exactly.
Right? There's not many reasons why somebody of that stature, that skill set that he showed last season would not play a single minute, but he was completely iced out. Now, we believe that there are reasons beyond just basketball-wise. Is Bol putting in the work off the court? Is he committed? What are they seeing in practice? It just didn't make sense. Mike from Mesa says you could even tell in Bud's preseason interview he wasn't going to play Bol. And with the problems that the Suns were having, we just said Bol Bol wouldn't fix all the problems the Suns were having. But now that you fast forward and we 10 times those problems, it's like you need somebody exciting, somebody long, somebody who's going to shoot well. And I still think that if you're trying to compete for a championship, I don't know if Bol Bol can be your starter. I hope that he continues to develop, and I hope that he shows consistently through these minutes, the end of the season, that he can be a massive part of that. But at the end of the day, I still think that my opinion on Bol Bol's ceiling is the same as it was going into the season and ending last. I think he has an incredibly high season or ceiling, but can we see consistently on both ends of the floor the fact that he can be a consistent starter on a championship team? That's a high level, and I think he has the talent and the frame to hit there, but I still think that he has some time to go to be doing what he's doing tonight on an under 500 team against the Pelicans for a team like the Cavs, the Celtics, the Thunder. And that's not me trying to diss him. It's me complimenting him and saying, I think I see a path if he could be consistent with it.
And that's the thing for me. It's good to do it against the teams like New Orleans Pelicans team tonight, but can you replicate close to that same type of impact, even if it's not the exact same carbon copy of the template on the box score? Can you just have that impact to where you're not a negative defensively and you continue to find ways to add value on the margins offensively? It's little things, like I mentioned, with his quick decision making that continue to stand out to me. And at the points last season where I did film sessions on Bol, it was him making those quick decisions. Talk about a game against the Lakers last season where he gets in. The Suns won this game, by the way. Bol's in the main rotation, and he's getting catches. LeBron James is helping 7 to 10 feet off of him. And Bol knocks down 2 threes. Now LeBron has to step out closer to close out because he's got a rhythm. And now he's just ripping and going again, just playing off of instinct. But it's because he's been given opportunity as a mainstay in the rotation to get comfortable.
Sure.
And then be able to play without having to look over his shoulder. And I think those things are important to build that confidence to then give a fair assessment for younger players on that level.
If you go back to the summer, and I wasn't on the show consistently then, but before the season, one of the reasons I was actually excited about this roster was, hey, we saw what Bol Bol went through last season, and I believe that he earned a spot in a rotation, and he started without a spot in the rotation, and I felt like that was unfair to him. But as the season went on, you just had to kind of chalk it up and say there's nothing you can do about it. Now that he's getting consistent run, he's playing really well, and I'm happy for him. And Andeezy in the chat is saying, I'm going to eat my words about him not being a starter on a championship caliber team. I hope so. I'm rooting for every individual player's success. I want Bol Bol to win the goddamn MVP award. Seriously. Like, I get excited when I watch him play. His highs and his flashes are almost incomparable to, like, yeah, Kevin Durant and Devin Booker, when they hit their highs, they're by far and away better players. But, like, highlight reel plays, who has more than Bol Bol from, like, a per 36 minute standpoint? Yeah. Not many. Like, seriously, he's incredibly fun to watch. And I think he was in an unfair situation. And I hope he continues to be in a fair situation the rest of the season. And then this offseason, Steven, we have to have a serious conversation about, are the Suns going to be able to retain him with his bird rights?
Yeah, and I think to get the most out of him, he has to be in a role where he's not going to be dependent upon too much, but he's also not going to be in a situation where his role is in limbo and it's just constantly changing. For example, tonight, more touches, more opportunities because someone like Bradley Beal is not in the rotation. What does his consistency look like when he is like 4th or 5th or 6th in terms of the scoring pecking order when the team is healthy? Like, it's just little things like that I feel like naturally when he's higher in the pecking order, more touches, he's going to do his thing. He's a natural person that knows how to put the ball in a basket. That's never
offense has never been the problem.
And it's never been where any of the questions are. Yeah. It's just about the impact in a sustained manner on the defensive end for me more than anything else.
Yeah, and Bol wasn't the only player who played well tonight. We do have a lot of people asking us to talk about Colin Gillespie. We have PHNX-Factor to give out as well. We're going to keep going on this. But one last thing on Bol. A lot of people want us to talk about Mike Budenholzer pulling him at the end of the game and not letting him go over his career high. And then beyond that, too, when he gets back in the game, nobody's looking for the damn guy. Give him the rock. Come on. Yeah. What are we doing?
Yeah. That was tough. I feel like Bud put him in a little too late. The game had lost its flow in terms of
for sure
players playing a certain style of basketball. You get to that point in quote-unquote garbage time. A player like Colin Gillespie that's been passing the ball all game is now going to look to get up shots. Tight checks in. The first time he touches the ball is going up towards the rim. It's a little late to try to play to that at that point. But I think that shows a lot of awareness. I don't know if it was directly Bud that was, aware that Bol was on the verge of a career high, but I like them at least putting them back in to have that chance.
Oh, they had to know.
No, but I'm saying I don't know if it was Bud specifically.
Yeah.
I appreciate the touch to the game, the understanding of what was going on, though. That's not what we've seen from this team too much lately.
Great questions in the chat. Appreciate everybody who's hanging out with us on a Friday night. Suns pick up a much-needed victory. Stop their skid 125-108 over the garbage New Orleans Pelicans. Somebody asking, what's the like goal for tonight? Well, the like goal I've come to is 162 likes. Would anybody like to guess how I came up with that number? There's no chance you get it. No chance. Just guess.
Me?
Anybody. There's only two of you in here.
I was like, who are you talking to? He said, would anybody like to guess? Like the chat got mics.
How did I get to 100? I wish the chat had a mic sometimes, and sometimes I wish they didn't. Any guesses?
I don't know. I refuse to try to map out how you put things together.
I can see the
Yeah,
wheels turning.
I think it has to do with your left hand in some capacity.
No, not at all. 162 is 78 plus 73 plus 11. Bol Bol's wingspan is 7'8". Bol Bol's height is 7'3", and Bol Bol's number is 11. 78 plus 73 plus 11. 162 likes, all for Bol Bol. Euphoria said that's the parlay you hit. Buddy, my parlay got me much more than that. We're going to break down our bets, give out PHNX-Factor, give love to everybody else, and of course, we're going to be talking about Chris Haynes' reports on Mike Budenholzer. Gerald will join us live from Footprint Center, and all of you are along for the ride with us, all after our first break. What would go better with a win than Spinato's Pizza? I'll tell you what, absolutely nothing. And it's also a good consolation prize as well. Because when I was at the Suns-Grizzlies game over my vacation a couple of weeks ago, me and my lovely wife, Megan, we were sitting there and they started throwing out the Spinato's pizza boxes, to give them out for free. And Megan caught one. Now, that was the game that KD scored 30K, but of course the Grizzlies won, so it was a little bit sour grapes, but at least we got to go out to Spinato's and enjoy a nice pizza the next day. And you can do that as well, because it is the place to be for Suns fans, not just because of their delicious out-of-this-world pizza, but because they're also hosting official watch parties throughout the season, where you can watch games of the Phoenix Suns dancers and the Gorillas. Stop by for your chance to win free Suns tickets, gift certificates, and more exciting prizes. Get all the info on the watch parties and their basketball contests at SpinatosPizzeria.com. Spinato's, the official pizza of Bol Bol's Phoenix Suns. And I wish that I had my sunglasses with me right now. If you watch PHNX Sun Devils, I'm always rocking my Shady Rays when I'm podcasting. I just got to pay respect to Flex, and I can't wear them on this show because that's the lane that he carved. But Shady Rays, it is impossible to survive Arizona without a quality pair of sunglasses. Maybe either of you can agree. Toadtree thinks I'm crazy. When it's really sunny outside and I don't have my sunglasses on, I feel hotter. Like, I feel more overwhelmed by the heat. Am I alone in this?
Yeah.
Okay, because here's the thing. I know it's a little crazy, but I genuinely feel that. And Shady Rays is the best pair of sunglasses I've ever owned. They're independent sunglasses company offering a world-class product rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. PHNX viewers and listeners, go to shadyrays.com. Save 35% off polarized sunglasses with code PHNX. Over 300,000 people have rated Shady Rays 5 stars. So use code PHNX today at shadyrays.com. Or a Sean Chunky Euphoria, let me show you everybody in the chat hanging out with us. Thank you all so much for hitting that like button. It means a lot, goes a long way in helping us keep the lights on here. And who are you going to chat about Bol Bol with postgame if not for PHNX Suns? So hit that like button. But I think it's time we move a little bit past Bol Bol. I'm sure we'll get some sound from Gerald about it. But there were some other good performances this game. Let's go ahead and name our PHNX-Factor. That is the wrong sounder and the wrong graphic. Wow, Noah just went 0 for 2 there.
X gon' give it to you.
There it is. X gon' give it to you even if it's on the second time around. Second game in a row against New Orleans, and second game in a row where Nick Richards had a double-double. Tonight, 19 points, 12 rebounds, 2 assists, at a block, playing 29 minutes, 8 of 11 from the field, 3 of 4 from the free throw line, and most importantly, Steven, welcome to the MIDI committee, Nick Richards.
There was a lot of BNE that was going on in this game. I feel like that was my favorite part. His presence was felt on both ends of the floor. Block shots, rebounds, and then on offense, what was it, 4 or 5 dunks, 2 alley-oops?
Yeah, he was dunking like crazy.
He was getting the job done. And I mean, again, just his presence being felt. He was pushing guys around in the paint. He was bullying guys around borderline. And then on the other end of the court on offense, he was bringing that power, that physicality. But my favorite part, in addition to all of that, though, is the skill that he also put on display. First handful of reps in the first quarter, Devin Booker's getting double teamed in pick and roll. Kevin Durant's getting 2 to the ball naturally as well. He's getting the ball in the pocket, and he's making quick decisions. It's not that catch it, and now I'm turning and I'm assessing the rest of the defense, and I'm allowing them to neutralize the advantage that was created on ball because I'm taking too long to make a decision. It's a quick pass here that goes to a +1 for a 3 on the backside. It's him catching it and pulling that midi that you just got done speaking to, and it's him again catching it, assessing the help defense, rotating around him, making another quick decision that leads to another wide open 3-point opportunity for the Suns. He can't thrive in the Suns offense and get to the physicality part that makes him great without adding that blend of skill into his general process. And I feel like tonight was arguably his best game, balancing all multiple dynamics that he can bring to a game, specifically playing out of that pocket.
Absolutely. Trust me, I understand that there's a difference in teams in what I'm about to say, but I want you to tell me if you notice something. These are Nick Richards' last 5 games, okay? There's one game tonight where he scored 19 points, recorded 12 rebounds, he played 29 minutes. Then there's last night, 10 points, 16 rebounds in 31 minutes. Then there's Memphis, which is 6 points, 4 rebounds in 16 minutes. Then Toronto, 21 minutes, 10 points, 8 rebounds. And then against Chicago, in a win, 28 minutes, 15 points, 10 rebounds. What's the trend there, Steven?
The minutes.
The minutes. And I understand. He wasn't playing well against the Grizzlies, and I get it. But when he has gotten a longer leash, because he made mistakes tonight, but when he's been allowed to work through that and play and feel a little bit more comfortable, he's a walking double-double. If anything, he's walking like 15 and 10, either points or rebounds. He kind of flips him up. But you see the flashes of maybe somebody who shouldn't be locked in as your starting center next year, but since he's under contract, if he's your backup center, that's a really good place to be as a team. Nick Richards can bring a lot of value in a very simple role if he's allowed to play it.
And I think the other thing, in addition to the minutes total that you're speaking to with Nick, is that he plays as well as the pieces around him do, both offensively and defensively. When he doesn't have to worry about covering up for someone getting blown by at the point of attack after every single pass and touch that takes place when they're playing on defense in the possession. And on the other end, on offense, when the ball is moving around unscripted and he's able to kind of play in those pockets or play off of the gravity that Devin Booker and Kevin Durant have, whether they're in pick and roll or they're operating in isolation and the team is trying to load up and help over the help line against either one of those two, when he's able to kind of play in those spaces and they're playing to their strengths with the tempo that they did in the half court today, that's when he can be at his best. And naturally, with the spacing as well, that's how you also get those alley-oop opportunities that he was able to get to tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's give some love to some other players as well. Bees has a great question that I want you to maybe start chewing on that says, what can we take from this game moving forward? So we'll answer that in a second. But as far as individual performances go, I think we just covered the 2 best. Royce O'Neal off the bench hit 6 threes tonight, 6 and 9 from deep. Nice. 18 points, +12. Mason Plumlee, a +25 on the night, which is kind of insane. And then Colin Gillespie, 18 minutes, 4 of 5 from the field, 1 of 2 from 3, scoring 9 points, dishing 4 assists, and grabbing a steal, a +7 on the night. Who would you like to talk to out of those 3 first?
It was out of Colin, Mason, and Royce?
Yes.
Definitely Royce.
Okay.
Because they need his 3-point shooting. And for him to be able to shoulder the brunt of a lot of the touches that would have went to Grayson and Bradley Beal tonight, and for him to knock down the threes that the team needed him to over the course of that game, I feel like was very important. And they need his 3-point shooting because he's going to be a player that's playing 25 to 30 minutes, sometimes even more than 30, depending on what the lineups are looking like and what his impact is based off of what they need defensively and offensively. So it's Royce for me, and it's going to continue to be that. They just rely a little bit too much on him. And when he's at least knocking down his threes to this volume, that's always great for them.
Only got one problem with Royce hitting 6 of 9 from deep tonight. Save it for a game that matters, my friend.
Hey, you can't get to him in the games that matter.
But what I'm saying is,
matter right now.
That's true. The game where we need it a little bit more because it was as much as he can go 6 for 9, he can also go 2 for 9 as well. So I'm hoping that he can continue that. Be calm. I'll read your super chat in a second. After we talk about Colin Gillespie, Colin Gillespie, I think, is an NBA player. I said this at the beginning of the season. You know, when he was going down to the G League, when he first got signed. He's the type of player that if you stuck him on a New Orleans Pelicans or a Washington Wizards or a Utah Jazz, specifically the Utah Jazz for certain reasons, he'd be getting lots of playing time. And I do think that he has a role in this league going forward. I would like to continue to see him, not instead of Ryan Dunn. I'm glad that wasn't in tandem thing tonight, but I liked when I saw it at Colin.
If there's a non-Tyus Jones, non-Monte Morris point guard that's playing, it should be Colin Gillespie.
Well, I guess over Ty, yeah.
It should be.
Agreed.
It should be Colin. He has a certain control about his game that you need from the point of attack on your offense to get you into your sets efficiently, get the ball where it needs to be, and he understands also how to play and pick and roll. He can make most of the passes out of that context. Naturally, that's something that the Suns play in a lot. And he's also a player that can score at all three levels. He can knock down pull-up threes, catch and shoot threes. He showed to knock down the midi in a ton of the minutes he's been given on a big league level this season. And he's also put pressure on the rim in an effective manner.
And he's been doing that.
And whether that's to score for himself or to play make to others. And that embracing of the physicality as a smaller guard is oftentimes one of the biggest kind of telltale signs of whether someone can sustain on a professional level or not. He's not one to shy away from that. In fact, he also initiates a lot of contact out there, whether he's just bringing it up against full court pressure or he's coming off a pick and roll and he's getting into the big's body before getting separation and making a decision.
Yeah, I think Colin has a role in this league. And
sure.
I think he has a role on this team.
He's a steady hand.
Yes, I think he has a role on this team right now. Somebody in the chat, let's just see who it is. Tony says, I'll be real, Erik. I like him better than Tyus lately. Right now, Tyus Jones is a better player than Colin Gillespie. But again, if we are evaluating the future of the Phoenix Suns, I would like to see more minutes from Colin, who had 18 tonight, than Tyus, but then we've been seeing, and I'd like to see less minutes from Tyus, who is starting in place of Bradley Beal, but played 32 minutes tonight, was 3 of 11 from the field, all those makes coming from deep with 6 assists and 2 turnovers as well. Not a terrible game from Tyus, much worse than last night. I'd love to continue to see more from Colin Gillespie because that might be somebody that you're going to try to get on a low-level deal, keeping your organization, and maybe rolling with him as your backup point guard next year.
As many project pieces you could have on the lower level, the better. So naturally, the Suns have a few that were on the big league roster today, but just looking at a couple of them, obviously you got the 2 rookies that you drafted in Oso Ighodaro and Ryan Dunn, Colin Gillespie, and then you add Ty into that mix with all of those players. That's a nice crop of guys that you can start to internally invest in through Summer League, through the G League, 2-way contracts, all of that fun stuff. But do it though. Don't have these players just sitting on ice because either they're getting better or they're not. Yeah. Especially at this early portion of their careers.
Let's talk a little bit before we hit our second break here about Kevin Durant and Devin Booker. Quiet nights from both of them, but you're happy that you didn't need them to have loud nights. I would have liked them to play less minutes. KD, 35, Booker, 37. That's leading the team from both of them. 17 points for each tonight, 9 assists from Booker, 6 for KD. KD with 3 steals tonight. Not the greatest game from either of them, but you're glad that you could win a game thanks to the other guys, which is not something that you've seen in general a lot this season.
You haven't. I'll just speak to one of the two. We can go with Devin Booker on this. Do you know who's leading the league in 3-point assists this season?
I'm going to guess Devin Booker.
Correct.
Okay. Nailed it.
Do you know how many 3-point assists he had coming into tonight?
How many? No.
200.
That was my first guess.
And so for context, I keep harping on this being his best playmaking season of his career so far. For him to have 200 3-point assists coming into tonight, even with the games he's missed, and that be leading the league without any semblance of a stretch 5 on the roster, like, just process how hard that is.
Yeah.
You got players like Tyrese Halliburton playing with a stretch 5 and Miles Turner. You got players all over the Boston Celtics playing with stretch 5s galore. You don't have a semblance of that gives any type of respect from deep from the opponents on your roster.
No. And you just have a poorly constructed roster in general, a coach who is making poor coaching decisions. And your role has also been moving around the entire year. Starting lineups have shifted. Your scoring guard and options next to you have gone to the bench, back up, back down, so on and so forth. Injuries and all that surrounding him too. He's been in a really bad position. And to still be able to make out of that is the sign of a truly great facilitator.
That's the separator right there. You can score. Now you're good enough scoring to garner the attention. Now can you counterpunch with your passing and your playmaking? And we've seen them do that. And to that point, within those 200 assists for threes, can you guess how many of those came from corner threes? Because it leads the league as well.
Like a number or a percentage?
Just a number.
Out of 200, I'll say 102.
Not too far off, 85.
That's pretty far off.
No, that's not that far.
I appreciate you. I appreciate
That's
you.
not that far.
That's pretty far off. Out of 200?
But to the point, though.
That's like 20. That's like a fifth off.
But to the point, though, that's him using the entire
numbers.
court. And based off of the types of defenses he sees, if you're getting two to the ball, the low man has to be into the paint to cover for the person that's double teaming Devin Booker. He's making that pass with no looks. He's playing with it to make sure that they commit to that rotation before making that pass to create as much of an advantage as he possibly can. And he's doing this going both directions, left side or right side. Again, playing with his eyes, playing with the cadence at which he's making these passes, and he's not turning the ball over at an alarmingly high rate on top of that.
Yeah.
That's the separator, being able to wear these multiple hats over the course of a game.
One turnover for Book tonight. Obviously, there's lots of news about Devin Booker, Mike Budenholzer. We also have comments in the chat about KD's body language. There are reports from Gambo about KD, about Bud. There's a lot going on. We're going to get to that. We're also going to hit by the numbers, and we are waiting for Gerald. But don't worry, everybody. We're going to do that all after our second break. When Bol Bol shoots from the corner, it's pure. Just like pure edibles. It tastes real damn good. Whether it's their kicks, which is basically their Starburst, their chews, which is like soft candies, think caramels, or their hard candies as well. The best part about Pure is that their effects are clearly listed on each tin, so you know exactly what effects to expect. Trying to chill out like I need to do all the time. Take the relax, take the unwind. Trying to sleep like I need to sleep. I didn't go to bed till like 5 o'clock last night. Got to take those sleep gummies, but maybe you want to get up in the day and you're trying to feel good and happy and positive. You can have their Uplift one. Steven, they are designed to be ripped or bit in half, making them easily shareable or easy to dial in your exact dose, which is very important with edibles, I might add. Go find yourself some Pure Edibles products from one of the over 130 dispensaries in state 48. And if you're trying to have a good time, well, guess what you could do? Go over to Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Whether you're joining us for one of our watch parties or you're just going for their state-of-the-art gaming floor, their poolside dining, their dining that goes from upscale to approachable, or you're just trying to get away from your family, go with your family, go for one of their events like they're giving away a $350,000 Lamborghini tomorrow. Ain't that something, huh? Ain't that something? You can win that a grand finale drawing tomorrow, Saturday, March 1st at Wild Horse Pass, where one lucky winner will drive away in a Lambo. Don't miss your chance. This is your opportunity to experience the thrill of luxury and speed. Visit every Friday for your chance to win big. And if you're not going for the Lamborghini Lux giveaway, like I mentioned, go to the sportsbook, come to one of our watch parties and hang out, enjoy the Phoenix Suns, or cry about the Phoenix Suns together. The only thing that's important is you do you. At Gila River Resorts and Casinos, visit playathila.com for more details. Remember, guys, like goal is at 162. B. Will says, Eric Ruby, didn't you think this poorly constructed roster was a contender? That I did, B. Will, and I'm very, very mad. Very mad that it's not. But trust me, I think a lot of people are kind of confused to where the Suns are right now, and we're going to get there talking about some of the reporting that's floating out there. But let's wrap up stuff on this game. Before we get to buy the numbers, I'll read the super chat. Be calm, see clearly, I'll read it. $2. Actually, maybe Steven should read this one.
Nah, I think Noah should read it.
No, I think you should read it. I think Noah should read it, and you should mouth it like you're saying it.
I'll laugh it.
You'll laugh it?
I'll laugh it afterwards.
No, I think you should laugh and read it.
Okay, Noah, go ahead.
Okay, I got you. Bol would be a babe, but he don't got no booty. Laughing emoji.
Tony says, I'll read it. Thank you for the $2 super chat. Be calm, see clearly. And now it is time for something completely different. It's time for What's in the Box, presented by Desert Financial Credit Union, Arizona's #1 credit union, named by Forbes.
What's in the box?
I think the loudest number from tonight's game is the 35 assists for the Suns. They were all moving it. and they were doing a great job of doing it with intent. It wasn't just moving it just because something might not have been there. They were keeping the Pelicans in consistent rotation, and I think in addition to the 35 assists, the 47 field goals made, that's the type of balance that you want with this Suns team when the ball's not sticking and when multiple players are moving it in multiple different contexts of play, from the best players at the inception of a point of attack to the players playing within the advantage created from them. That's where all of their best shot quality comes from. And we saw a whole lot of that tonight. And I think the other big thing to look at here is also the 21 made threes. Naturally, they said they want to shoot threes. They said they want to make threes at a high clip. They did that tonight. And now it's about repeating that against multiple different types of opponents.
Sparrow asked, do you think maybe the Suns communicated more this game following Book's interview?
I mean, the bar was low tonight, considering it's a Pelicans team without a lot of their top-end talents. But you have to start somewhere, so yes. They looked like they were on more of a string tonight, and they looked like they operated with more of a process offensively than it's felt like in recent memory. So, yeah, I'll give them that. It's a step in the right direction.
Sure, and I answered that in the chat. Thank you, Sparrow, for the question. And I just said, look, I think they look good tonight, but you got to see them do it against a better team to truly know if they communicate better. Because this was one of those games where you could sleepwalk and beat your opponent, and they didn't have many of those left, and they were able to do it tonight. So that's good. Appreciative of that from them, shooting over 50% from three. They were on it. But it doesn't take away from everything else that's surrounding this team right now, because as the Phoenix Suns giveth, they also taketh. And we know that if they go and lose a terrible game next, vibes are all the way back in the gutter. I think it's time to discuss Mike Budenholzer and the Phoenix Suns and the reports that went down today. Of course, if you missed it, which lucky you, Chris Haynes reported earlier this morning that Mike Budenholzer had a one-on-one meeting with Devin Booker where he asked him to, and I'm quoting Chris Haynes, tone it down vocally, leaving Devin Booker shocked. Now, before we give our thoughts on it, I do want to play what Mike Budenholzer had to say about this hashtag Haynes brief in pregame availability.
Well, Devin and I have lots of conversations, so I think it's super healthy. Internally, some of this stuff has been shared with me, so usually I'm kind of naive or in a cave, but Devin's care factor's off the charts. Devin always starts with himself. He's always pushing all of us to be better. Devin's awesome, and his communication is awesome. His style is great. So I get it. I understand. I don't think I don't have a lot more to say. There's conversations that Devin and I have all the time. And I'm good with those conversations. We don't always agree on everything. I think he actually appreciates it. I appreciate it. So, I think I'll leave it there.
Man, you can't have that issue, have that conversation, or what sounds like multiple conversations about it, and then come out and say this communication is great. Like it's either one or the other.
And that's the thing,
you don't get
right?
to the point that you're at now without having not liked some version of his communication that's taken place over the last month or whenever this started.
I'll be so honest with you. I don't trust a damn thing that he says. Nothing. Right? Nothing. Now, I understand that the Nurkic situation, it's his own situation in a vacuum. This is not the first time that we've gotten conflicting reports about who Mike Budenholzer is and isn't talking to and what they're talking about. I don't trust the guy. I quite simply don't trust him. I don't trust the fact that he's like, oh, no, it's fine. Everything's good. Everything's great. Because if you listen to what Devin Booker had to say in his postgame comments, you know that everything was not okay. And I understand, and trust me, I get the media game. Like, we understand the media game more than most because we have to be a part of that machine a lot of the times. We are a part of that machine, whether we like it or not.
Exactly.
Things leak for certain reasons. Certain camps have agendas. That being said, what I think Chris Haynes reported, which I choose to believe is true, it just feels like a frustration play, but one that I would make as well. Because if that's true, what the hell are you doing? Like, if that is true, and Mike Budenholzer, after one of the worst losses of the season, went to his most vocal leader, somebody who quite literally has been maligned for not being a vocal leader who finally kind of steps outside the box and says something post-game and tells him to stop, that coach should be fired. Gone. And I'll stand on this. Tonight was a great win. Very happy with tonight. I do not have a lot of problems with Bud tonight. But that is maybe one of like 5 games that I have felt that way this entire season. And when there's other reporting from Gambo who says people within the Suns organization say Mike Budenholzer is miserable to deal with, with all of that going on, I am ready for this franchise to move on. I am ready to leave Mike Budenholzer in the past. I do not care about firing 3 coaches in 3 years. I do not care about the fact that there are other problems because those can't be fixed if you can't fix this. Is the roster subpar? Yes. Have the players not lived up to expectations? Yes. But day in and day out, I believe the root of the issue as to why the Phoenix Suns are out of the play-in with the Portland Trailblazers hot on their ass is because of Mike Budenholzer's culture making, decision making, or lack thereof. I'm over it. I'm sick of it, and there needs to be change. And there needs to be change beyond that, but that needs to be the first move, and I would not be mad if I woke up tomorrow morning and I got that notification on my phone. I don't want that to be the case. I wish Mike Budenholzer nothing but the best personally. I hope you can find happiness, and if that comes in coaching, I hope you can find a spot that's better fit for you, because Phoenix is not it. And as a fan of this franchise, I can't take it anymore. Can't do it anymore. I'm over it. You've shown what you can do, and I'm calling it like it is. I'm done. A win doesn't change that against the Zion Williamson-less New Orleans Pelicans. And scene.
Well said. You said it all. I don't disagree with a bit of what you said. I still feel that there's portion of blame to the players in terms of their execution, and I'm not saying that you're absolving them of any of it, but I just want to make sure we're also just kind of looking at it as a whole, because like we've talked about, all of us on this podcast have spoken to the issues with this team expanding past any particular person. But to your point, you said the head of the snake. I feel like that was appropriate in pregame. The person that a lot of the things are emanating from is at the top of it, and that's the person that's putting players in these positions, that's created the culture or lack thereof, the ecosystem or lack thereof, the process or lack thereof. Like, it starts there and then it trickles down.
Yeah.
But it starts there.
Yeah. Listen, we spent, and you can go back and you can watch all of these post games. I think we actually spent, for when this team really started to go off the rails at the beginning, we spent a lot of time singling out the players.
Definitely
okay?
Did.
Anytime Devin Booker had a bad game,
he was the main culprit because he left a lot more to be desired earlier in the season.
Anytime that happened, despite what KD stands in our chat will say, we called him out. Anytime Kevin Durant hasn't played up to his standard, we've called him out. I've called out Tyus. I've called out Plumlee. I called out Nurkic. I've called out Richards. I've called out Grayson Allen. I've called out Royce O'Neal. I've called out Ryan Dunn when he needs to play better. I've called out Oso Ighodaro. I've called out every single player on this damn roster when they haven't been living up to expectations. But as this season has progressed, as we've seen it all unfold out in front of us, it's very clear to me what problem number one is. And that is Mike Budenholzer. And I really wish it wasn't. Because going into this season, I was full on belief in Mike Budenholzer. But this is not the same dude who coached those Milwaukee Bucks. That guy had flaws. This dude is built out of flaws. And I just don't get it. And I hope that he's okay. I hope there's nothing going on. I don't know. Sometimes personal life can get crazy and it can distract you from your job. But his answers in a post-game availability, his inability to explain some of his decisions beyond a gut feeling, inability to make in-game adjustments, and then it goes beyond with culture. And if this is true from Chris Haynes, it's indefensible at this point. Like, you can't sit back, which I have multiple times this season, and ask yourself a legitimate question of, is this head coach making a decision to actually win this game? Is he making a decision in the best interest of this franchise? If I have to do that, not just one-off, but as a pattern, that's a problem. And if Mike Budenholzer is done, I'll say this right now before we get to the off-season search and all the names, I don't want to retread. I don't want a Mike Brown. I don't want a Dwayne Casey. I don't want the Monty Williams one-year deal, Mike Budenholzer back, Frank Vogel back. I don't want that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
What is the Oklahoma City Thunder being led by right now?
Mm-hmm. One of the younger coaches in the league.
Boston Celtics?
One of the younger coaches in the league.
Detroit Pistons?
One of the younger coaches in the league. Albeit more experienced, but still one of the younger coaches in the league.
A new era. A new coach.
Mm-hmm.
Toronto Raptors, Rajakovic,
Mm-hmm.
Brooklyn Nets. Like, there are a generation of coaches that were fantastic at what they did. But every 10 years or so, the game develops and adapts so much that only a select few make it through to that next wave. We're talking your Spos, your Pops, like those, your Phil Jacksons, Steve Kerrs of the world. These are the coaches that make it out there, right? That get through the fine-tooth comb that is the evolution of the NBA. Mike Budenholzer is not one of those coaches. At least not right now. That is my opinion on it, but I'm sure there's going to be a lot more about that conversation to be had.
To that point, just like we spoke on with the All-Star game, just like we eventually talk about with all NBA teams, if you're saying that someone should be going out, then you have to have a requisite replacement for said person. And for me, I'll go ahead and answer my number one at the top of that list right now, Jerry Stackhouse.
I like
I've spoken about him a few times on this podcast, in particular when they're going up against the Golden State Warriors. And his track record in the G League, the 905 Raptors, multiple G League championships, which netted him this opportunity as one of the lead assistants, particularly in responsibility for the defense of Steve Kerr, with Kenny Atkinson going out and obviously getting the opportunity with the Cavaliers this season. That's the type of breath of fresh air that I feel like the Suns team could use if it is indeed their decision that they want to go forward with a new voice. Someone that's shown to know how to build a culture, albeit on a G League level, also as a former player. Yeah, it's going to be a different type of reach there.
I want to take the best head coach in the G League. To be honest with you, I don't think she's available. I would cry if we got Becky Hammon.
Yeah.
That's a championship level coach, culture builder that I think could come in here and do some great things. There are a lot of other options. We're going to go through that. Mike Budenholzer, still the head coach of the Phoenix Suns. He had some things to say about Bol Bol. So did Katie. We're going to show you those. We're waiting for Gerald all after our final break. Steven, you're a very driven guy.
I appreciate it.
Especially when it comes to the game of basketball. To get here, you had to have a lot of drive. You're like our personal Sanderson Ford. I'm serious. Because Sanderson Ford is loved by the people, has been around doing its thing, and it stays in its own lane. And in celebration of Arizona being the 48th state of the union and Ford trucks being the #1 in sales for 48 straight years, Sanderson Ford is celebrating President's Day with a presidential sale on 848 new vehicles, many with savings of, get this, $4,800 or more. Shop with a no hassle, no pressure, no nonsense guarantee, and see why Sanderson Ford is America's most awarded Ford dealership for complete customer satisfaction. Just like Steven always leaves our podcast listeners with complete satisfaction, so does Sanderson Ford. Listen, don't miss out the Sanderson Ford presidential sale. And while you're there, check out the Starliner Diner, check out their museum. It's an absolute complex. And once you get your new Sanderson Ford vehicle, you got to stop at Circle K on the way there. Bol Bol is now a member of all of ours inner circles, and hopefully you can be a member of Circle K's. It's super easy. It's the easiest inner circle to get into, so you would think it wouldn't be worth it, but you're wrong. All you have to do is download that Circle K app, put in your phone number, put in your email, and you're on your way to saving money. 25 cents off per gallon on your first 5 fill-ups, and 3 cents off per gallon after that, until you hit what Espo called the Espo level. But if I'm letting you in on a not so secret, me, Gerald, and just about everybody at this company is getting 5 cents off per gallon on unlimited fill-ups every single day. So if you're a family person and you're getting multiple cars out there, you're going to be able to fill up under the same number, same Inner Circle Rewards membership, and you're also going to be able to save money on drinks, snacks, and everything in between. All you have to do is join the Inner Circle for free by downloading the Circle K app today. Terms and conditions do apply at participating locations. Visit CircleK.com for details. Thank you so much to everybody in the chat hanging out with us, celebrating a Suns dub, few and far in between nowadays, but we appreciate all of you who have been there with us. Remember, that like goal is 162 likes. We're going to get to sound from KD on Bol Bol. We're going to get the sound from Mike Budenholzer on Bol Bol. And we're going to do all of that after we sit here for a second and make sure you hit that like button. Go on. We're waiting. Steven, before we hear from Bud and from Katie, do you feel like there's something about Bol we haven't talked about tonight?
We talked about defense. We talked about his offense.
Good passes.
We talked about him getting consistent burn, which is naturally lend itself to his confidence, and seeing how that's sustained and how it's had impact over the game.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just curious what his ceiling with this team and this current construct is.
I agree. I would love to maybe have like a deep dive into that conversation, but as far as tonight goes, here's Mike Budenholzer on Bol Bol.
I mean, everywhere, to be honest with you, but he's unique. He whenever he's played in the games, he's responded well, and he has just a way about him. He kind of just plays basketball. He's got unique skills, and I think defensively he's helping us. There's a rim protection. He's doing a lot of good things. It's been impressive. What he's been able to do.
So in my mind, when I'm hearing him speak to rim protection with Bol, I think naturally with most people that watch basketball, you think of rim protection as a literal shot attempt at the goal and someone contesting to the point of deterring that shot from going in the basket in some capacity. Rim protection can also be your help in a timely manner. And that's kind of what I was speaking to earlier with Bol, but also with Nick Richards. Some of the timely help from them happening below the free throw line, it serves as a point of rim protection because it keeps someone from even getting to the basket. Now, naturally, you have to have help-to-helper scenarios, which the Suns have not been good at this season, which I've spoken to a lot. But those two in particular have been good with that element and then also helping each other out in terms of like their two-man synergy, no different than players having pick and roll with one another.
Absolutely. 2 blocks for Bol Bol tonight, almost a career high in points. Here's what his idol, his legend, his mentor, Kevin Durant, has to say on Bol.
I expect Bol to go out there and play well. We built a good relationship, and I kind of know where his mindset is. So, when he's locked in, he's special. So, coach gave him more opportunity here lately, and he's taking full advantage of it. I'm excited for him. And, the crowd, he's become one of the favorites here in Phoenix, and that's only good for a player when you get that confidence from your fan base. And, so we just keep building him up, keep pouring into him as much as he can. But for me, I expect him to go out there and play good ball.
There's actually a lot of that I want to break down. I expect it of him in a way that also instills confidence. You're not surprised by it. I know Bol Bol's going to hear that, or he was right next to him when he said that. I think about Bol Bol's post-game conversation with Amanda Pflugrad, where he talks about his teammates instilling that confidence in him. And I think back to last season, the viral moment on the bench, Kevin Durant mentoring and teaching Bol Bol. If the Suns are playing a long game with Bol and they are going to let him run and then re-sign him, I'm going to be really excited to see what he can do. And if he can continue to grow and develop and get better, which I think he has, you get really excited about the prospects of somebody who did what he did tonight in just 26 minutes.
You do. And you have to continue to give him opportunity. And he has to also go out and continue to earn that opportunity. And I think that Bud giving him opportunity, as we've seen of late, Bol has responded. It wasn't the prettiest early on in those minutes. And we heard Bol, as early as last week, speak to him not being proud of the performances he put up earlier this season. But he also attributed it to a lot of the inconsistencies with his role. He mentioned verbatim, it's hard to kind of find a rhythm when you're not sure if you're going to play, and if you do play, how long you're going to be out there for. Now that he's earned opportunity in a sustained manner, he can focus and not, like I said, have to look over his shoulder, and he can play off instinct. And that's the space you want to be in as a player. When you have to look over your shoulder, whether you're a defensive player, offensive player, or both, you're never going to be playing to the strengths, to the peakest of your strengths, because you're worried about, am I doing what I need to do, instead of just going and focusing on playing off of your instinct. That's the space you want to operate in. And Bol's doing
absolutely. I'm really happy to see him get a role and to see him contribute. He's also one of those guys, and we talked about it with Dunn when Dunn plays well, or when he plays well, with the athleticism, with the highlights for a team that just has no juice, no oomph about him. When you have a play like that, when Bol blocks it on one end and shovel passes it on another, or he rises up and he dunks, or he catches a lob, those moments, they just get so damn exciting. And speaking of moments that are so damn exciting, everybody take a deep breath. It's Girth time.
In the darkness, beyond the light, there shall only be one. Welcome to Girth!
That's right, baby. It's time for From the Home Court, presented by the Carol Royce team. Your home sold guaranteed realty, where Carol will guarantee to sell your home for 100% of the market value, or she'll pay you the difference. Learn more at carolroyceteam.com. Joining us live from PHX Arena, it's Gerald Borgay. Gerald, are you going to tell your grandchildren about the night that you were in the building when the Suns completed not one, not two, but 3 successful lobs in one game?
I might have to. I know I'll remember it forever, and I want to share that with them one day. But no, it was good. It was good to see the Suns bounce back a little bit, to actually bring some defense. I don't know how much this changes the overall trajectory of their season, but it's a start. We said this last night. They could come out here and blow this Pelicans team out by 40. And we would not feel swayed. So I'm not going to sit here and, be all sunshine and rainbows. They still have a lot of work to do, but at least they showed a little bit of competitive fire and just had a wire-to-wire victory, which it's been a while since they've had one of those. And it's been since January 31st that their opponent scored less than 119 points. So there's that.
I'm just dancing. Let's go. Yeah. Now, Gerald, obviously, I mean, we've mentioned it. This win does nothing for the big picture when it comes to this team, but small picture. Bol Bol, season high 25 points, almost getting that career high, which is still at 26 points. It is nice to see somebody that this team can get behind. We've played a couple clips of people post game, but I feel like the Suns and the world is just a happier place when Bol Bol plays well.
It really is. And it's nice to see him make the most of this opportunity. I had asked Coach Bud about what he was seeing behind the scenes from him that prompted him to kind of give him this opportunity in the first place. And he kind of went on a little bit about just Bol's nature. Like, he just wants to be in the gym. He wants to work on his game. He just wants to play basketball, and something about that stood out to them at a juncture of the season where they were kind of looking for answers. They were looking for an alternative, and he's made the most of his opportunity since he's gotten it. Kevin Durant, we played the clip about him speaking highly of Bol Bol, but he went on with a more extended answer when asked about, not putting Bol in a box and him being a student of the game. And he was saying, like, that's a part of his game that's not glamorized as much, but it's something that he tries to call attention to whenever reporters ask KD about Bol, just because, he's quiet, he's unassuming. So it gets kind of overlooked how much he cares, how much he wants to improve his game, how much he's a student of the game. KD said younger players can kind of learn from the way that he approaches it. So it is nice to see a guy like that that's getting, praise from his coach, from his teammates, just unanimous praise from all of these guys to make the most of his opportunity.
Gerald, we saw a lot of Espo's proverbial BNE in today's game, and I feel like we've felt his presence just in watching the impact that his presence has had over games over the last handful. What were the conversations like about Nick Richards post game?
Yeah, so I think one of the big things, and Steven, I think you tweeted about it, I tweeted about it during the game, was it felt like he's looked more comfortable operating in the pocket. And that was something that Nick mentioned unprompted a couple of times to start his presser. So I kind of asked him what's led to that, because with the attention that Devin Booker and KD are going to get in those pick and rolls, he's got to be comfortable kind of making the right read. And he was saying for him, it was just a matter of slowing down, of realizing, the coaches were telling me, you're kind of forcing 1-on-4 sometimes when you get in those situations. So just slow down, look and see what's open, make the right read, and make the right play from there. We saw that early on with the Suns ball movement. There were a couple of possessions where he caught it in that short pocket, not froze, but kind of went through his options like a quarterback, made the right pass, it swung to the corner, someone knocked down a three. So that's good for him to continue to build on. And on top of that, building that pick and roll chemistry and, starting to get more comfortable with the ball handlers and vice versa in terms of that vertical threat that he brings as a rim runner.
Gerald, obviously you were there, pregame media availability, talking to Mike Budenholzer about Chris Haynes' report, detailing the meeting between him and Devin Booker. You haven't had a chance to speak on any of that yet. I just want to give you the floor to share your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't entirely answer the question. He, alluded to the fact that they have lots of conversations. So I'm sure that it happened. It might have been slightly exaggerated in terms of what was said in that meeting or, Devin Booker being shocked. I don't picture Book being the type of guy that is shocked all that often. But I do think it's something to keep an eye on. The communication was a lot better tonight. Obviously, the quality of opponent has to factor in there, but there was a lot of talking out there. There was a level of focus that we saw a little bit in the Grizzlies game. Hopefully it's something they can tap into more consistently here to make sure that these last 2 months are at least somewhat competitive for a damn play-in spot. But yeah, and KD touched on it after the game as well. And, he kind of referred to it as some BS that was dropped on them as a team. So I found that kind of interesting in terms of the Suns maybe using it as a rallying cry. It wasn't something that they talked about. KD said, it's not, when these types of reports come out, it's not something you necessarily have to talk about as a group. But that whole idea of trying to tear them apart from the outside could hopefully bring them closer together. So who knows? We'll see.
A long shot, but hopefully.
My last one for you, Gerald. Just looking at Devin Booker, do you feel like there was any impact on the conversations that were non-basketball that have been taking place over the last 24 leading into tonight's game? Or did you feel like he still showed the type of player that he's been for this team the last couple of months?
Yeah, I feel like it was pretty consistent tonight. Obviously, he didn't have a high-scoring game, but they didn't need him or KD to do that since they went up 20 early in that game. I saw people, talking about how many shots Booker and KD took, and I feel like these people don't actually watch the sport that they're tweeting about. Like they didn't need to take a lot of shots tonight, guys. It's gonna be okay if Kevin Durant doesn't take 20 shots in the game.
I want to fight though, Gerald.
My God, they do. Well, that's good because they do too. But yeah, they didn't need a ton from Book and KD tonight, but they were leading in terms of their communication out there. There was a lot of talking with guys and pointing things out in the middle of the game. And like I said, that level of focus was there from the jump, and they sustained it pretty much wire to wire until garbage time there. So that was good to see. As much as it's a win over a really bad shorthanded team, it's been a minute since we've gotten a blowout victory that you can just kind of feel good about and not look at and say, well, this, and this also happened.
Last one from me, Gerald. Just real quick, your thoughts on Colin Gillespie. 18 minutes tonight. Do you feel like the Suns might have something if they're able to keep Colin Gillespie around for the future?
I hope so. I would like to see more of him in the future. I think we've been saying it for a while. He's too good to be a G League player. He has his flaws in the NBA, but he's a smooth operator, man. Like he's got a good handle. He's just very smart. He can get to his spots. He's a good shooter. I would have liked to see a little bit more awareness on his part and everybody's part that Bol was one bucket away from the career high because Colin was gunning out there down the stretch. And I felt like Bud brought Bol back into the game a little bit too late, if that was the goal. But yeah, other than that, like I would like to see more developmental minutes from him. Hopefully they can keep him. And if they need a backup point guard, maybe give him a look, more of an extended look next season.
Well, Gerald, we appreciate all the great work that you're doing, not only for your own social media account, tweeting out updates on the game and all media availabilities and practice over at Gerald Bourguet, but of course, all your incredible writing. You wrote something after last night's game that's up at GoPHNX.com. And as the Sun season continues, you can always find very quality, well thought out work, which is hard to come by these days, at GoPHNX.com from Gerald. Thanks, Gerald.
Thank you for that very kind send-off. You guys have a good one.
I gotta stop being nice to him to his face. I gotta start being mean again. Gerald, you suck. He's already gone, but Suns Digest says, thank you, Gerald. No, I agree. Absolutely love Gerald. Any final thoughts on tonight's game before a day off? And then we are back at it, baby. Sunday night. Let's go streaking. 2 wins in a row. Take on the Timberwolves.
Yeah, last thing for me, just again with the Devin Booker dynamic, continue to diversify his usage, please. I've been borderline begging for it almost all season long. I feel like I can attribute a lot of that to why he saw some of the inconsistencies that he did earlier this season. Offense, especially when the ball was in his hands, was a little too stale. They've been using them in more movement lately. Can you continue to find those pockets within your process and do so in an organized manner against a defense that's top 5, top 6, at worst top 7, and has been fluctuating in that realm of the entire league come Sunday when you invite the Minnesota Timberwolves into the PHX Center or arena, excuse me.
I know, man. It still kills me. Listen, that is just about it. We appreciate everybody who's hanging out in the chat with us on a Friday night. We're still inching towards that like goal, but we are so close. I know all of our friends who are tuning in on YouTube after the fact are smashing that like button. Thank you to those who are coming after we're live, while we're live, and of course, all of you who are listening on audio as well. We really do appreciate our audio listeners. I know it's sometimes hard. You listen to a show, a lot of interaction with the live chat and the comments, but our audio listeners are the ones who are on the go. Always so busy. So we appreciate you always tapping in. And if you appreciate us, we would love it if you could drop a 5-star review. And you know what, Mike from Mesa, you are my guy. My guy. Because how could I go this long without looking at our bets before I show you the earnings? Noah, can I show the people my bet? Are we able to pull that up? Because your boy cooked up. Let's just get this straight. A 3-leg master class over at Bet365. It was perfection. Guess what? Who called Bol Bol scoring 25 points? This guy. Kelly Olynyk, never in doubt. Over 10.5 rebounds and assists. I certainly wasn't sweating that one. And Nick Richards grabbed 7 rebounds in practically the first quarter. All of that boosted 30% thanks to our friends over at Bet365. I end up with a plus 4,000. And you know what that means? Let's show them the standings. Your boy is in the green, dominating. Absolutely incredible. $279 in the positive. And who's that all the way down there? A little old Steven, negative 135 and 8 cents. And gosh, Espo, no wonder he's been in witness protection. Negative $308.47. I am over. I'm just about $600 higher than Espo. Shout out to my guy, Bol Bol. Come on!
Job well done.
Psycho Hawk says that bull bet was insane. I saw the odds and I was like, tonight is the night.
Job well done.
Tonight. I should have put like 2,000 on that. Really, really made some waves. Would have had a whole new set. Sandman said he's like Flex from last year. Listen, we were all looking like that. I think Flex ended up like negative 200 last year. And that's really funny because we were all around negative 200 already this season. So we appreciate everybody. Thank you, Mike from Mesa, for bringing that up. Thank you, McKay, T, Tony, Joey, Chunky, Carlos, Cara, Psycho, Sandman, everybody who's hanging out with us. Red Hawk Way, who says like PHNX. We agree. Hit that like button on the way out. We appreciate all of you, every single last one of you who hangs out with us for these shows. Just a reminder, we are off tomorrow. I'm not off, though. I'll be doing a PHNX Sun Devils post-game as they go through the end stretch of their season. Another poorly coached team for me to cover. Go, Erik. But, of course, you can follow that at PHNX_Sun Devils. And we cover Cardinals. They just got back from the Combine interview with Cam Scadaboo. Other great NFL personalities and reporters. Awesome stuff from our PHNX Cardinals crew. Go check them out as well. Diamondback spring training is in full swing. Wildcats are ranked in the top 25, as much as it pains me to say. And of course, Phoenix Rising, that season just around the corner as well. They're starting their coverage over there. PHNX Rising and Steven, Mercury Land. Always a good time. Potentially a new look super team in the W with the Merc.
I'm looking forward to it. We are ramping up over the next, 2-ish weeks, because training camp starts in the next 57 days. So less than 2 months away from things with the W really getting going. So stay tuned for that.
You got a
Erica
show
got y'all
this
covered.
week? Next week?
Thursday next week.
So only 6 days away. Mark that down on your calendar. PHNX Mercury. We do have a question. I'm sorry. I think we're going to drag on just a couple minutes longer here. There was a Gambo report. Now, listen, this was a Gambo report for sure. Now, Gambo did not go out and tweet this. And as somebody who has worked with Gambo before very closely, there's a difference between what Gambo says on radio shows and what Gambo is reporting. And I do think that this is kind of in between. I'm not saying that he's lying at all whatsoever, but there was a report that somebody quoted from Gambo saying that everybody in the Suns is miserable and it starts and ends with Kevin Durant. And I just don't see it. Personally.
So is this reporting, or is he just speaking on what he's saying?
I'm trying to look for exactly what
because
he said.
While you do that, I'll go ahead and speak. So I know everybody was having fun with the clip yesterday of KD clearly being fed up with Mason Plumlee. And, well, actually, I'll walk that back some. People were saying that, yeah, he's fed up with the team, when it was very clearly Mason Plumlee not respacing after Kevin Durant came off of the screen that Mason set and tried to work his way to one of the spots that he likes to operate from most on the court. You can't operate from those spaces that KD likes to operate from if the spacing around him isn't good. And Durant in particular was fed up in that moment because of the lack of awareness from Mason Plumlee to create space for Kevin Durant to operate. And needless to say, Durant ends up having to kick it to Devin Booker. I don't think he made the shot. Even if he did make the shot, it was a grenade that he had to give him at the end of the shot clock. No flow, no process. And ended up having to throw something up at a crucial point in the game. I just don't, I understand people assessing the game and whatnot, but the reaching that's taking place with every little thing that goes on the court, as if there's not something on the court that's validating the response that we're seeing from players at times, it's a little outrageous. It's a little clickbaity. There's a lot of reaching going on. I agree. I just want to make sure that people are assessing things appropriately at times.
Yeah, and I can't find, I know, okay. I don't know, maybe this tweet has been deleted. No, it hasn't. Okay. I'll be honest with you. I have not gone and listened to this. They dropped a time link in it, but an account called PHX Fans tweeted, quote, "They all hate each other and it begins and ends with KD." That's Gambo quoting a high-ranking NBA executive. Okay. I think it is in lots of other executives' best interest to drive down the value of Kevin Durant going into an offseason where he's going to be traded. So I would like that to be taken into account here. I think what Gambo is saying, I 100% believe that somebody told him that. That man does not say things willy-nilly. So he did not go out and tweet it, which means I don't think he really wants to run with it and push it as a narrative. But I know he doesn't just say things to say things. So I'm not buying that is the case reality with this team. But I will say there was some body language from KD that I thought was understandable when he was missed wide open under the basket tonight, missed on a couple of looks. And you saw last night's game when he moved Mason Plumlee out of the way. I think it's very clear that there's a lot of frustration going on right now. And I would be shocked if I didn't see other rival executives and teams try to drive that nail into the Suns to split them apart. Because if they're splitting apart, it's a lot easier to pick off the pieces for cheap. And that's exactly what the vultures of the NBA want to do with the Phoenix Suns.
That's competition. You want to bring that asking price down as low as you possibly can to potentially make any type of transactions that you might desire. But at the same time, my stance still remains the same. If we're going to talk about things, let's make sure we're contextualizing them the right way. Not speaking specifically to Gambo. I didn't see his tweet, so I don't even know what he was talking about, if he was talking about anything that we're talking about right now.
Sure.
I'm just saying off of what I've been seeing in general discourse with the way that that particular scenario is misspoken about it on multiple different accounts.
Yeah, listen, guys, we're never going to know exactly what Kevin Durant's thinking unless he tweets it, right? We're never going to know what executives are thinking or what their motivation is or anything like that. We're obviously going to continue to cover this situation closely. When Gambo says more things, Gerald obviously is out there reporting, boots on the ground day by day. We have a wonderful group of daily reporters that are out there as well. We're going to give you the best that we can, but, you know, a lot of this is conjecture. A lot of this is guessing. And to be frank, I do think a lot of it is hashtag blame KD. Even though I do think that I think KD deserves some blame, but I think that there's just this narrative surrounding him, and people are very quick to jump and put all the blame on him. Again, I'll stand on what I said earlier. It's Mike Budenholzer's problem number one right now, and before you do anything else, you need to get rid of problem number one.
And that's my other big thing with people. I'll go ahead and kind of take the professional face off a little bit, talking crazy about Kevin Durant.
Sure.
Like, some of the things we've seen and heard said about KD from rather prominent figures in the Phoenix media ecosystem. Like, what are we doing right now? And I genuinely asked that on multiple different accounts. What exactly are we doing? Like,
Welcome to the industry, my friend.
Oh, of course, but and listen, I'm not new to this, but I'm also
I know.
Still very much confused at the same time.
Yeah.
Like, what are people doing sometimes? I just don't.
I don't get it either. Listen, sometimes people just smell blood and they go for it. And I think there's a lot of blood in the water in Phoenix. And you're going to see more reports. It's going to be from Gambo. You're going to see national people do it. There might be a massive Shams Charania article dropping. Whatever it is, whoever it is, we're going to be keeping you up to date right here. We're not going anywhere. Even if you want us to. We're here through thick and thin, just like all of you sickos and all of that. We really appreciate all of you who are still tuning in throughout this season. Suns have a chance to string together 2 wins, start the month of March off right. And if you remember, what is the month of Devin Booker? March. Could we see an explosion from Book to power this team? It'll be exciting to see. Enjoy everybody's day off from Suns basketball. We'll be back on Sunday, pregame and postgame for Suns Timberwolves. I'll be here tomorrow for PHNX Sun Devils. What if I just verbatim did the entire outro again? Psych, I'm tired and I want to go home. Bye.
We all silly like the mayor.